Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the Pies Footy segment. Plenty to catch up on as we head into a bit more of a busier period for the lads. Very shortly, we will be off to Gold Coast for that triple threat between Brisbane and Gold Coast. So that will be upcoming. Sort of the calm before the storm, but we got little stories here and there to talk about. And really, this is probably the last couple of weeks where things are a bit slow. Maybe the training is getting a bit old now. Hopefully, in the next week or so, we get a little bit more out of training. I mean, it's always ramping up, but before we know it, it's going to be opening round, and we're going to be, we'll be in the thick of things. So, very exciting times, that's for sure. That's for certain. What I'm going to do, guys, is I want to share very early in this podcast or show, we're going to share the Pies Footy tipping competition. So for those who aren't aware, the grand prize is $300 and the entry fee is zilch, zero, nothing. So it will cost you nothing. All you need to do is join that link and also be a part of the mailing list for Pies Footy, which will be in the description of this video as well, of this live stream. So if you want to be a part, even if you're not fussed about trying to win money, which is fine, if you just want to test your luck and see how good you are amongst the Pies Footy community, then jump into the competition and test your luck. I'll be in it. If I win, I will defer to the second best person, and they win the grand prize. Okay, that's the exception. I'll win. I'll take the pride out of it. I'll give the money to the next person because I'm a giving man. What's going on? Chris, Shama champ. Give old Chris Cassette a follow on YouTube, guys. That's my younger brother. He's doing some fitness content. Does a lot of push-ups. He does a lot of push-ups. So if you want to see a bunch of push-ups and a tank doing it, then there's your man. Jump in. Madison Malarico, another fellow YouTuber, content creator, SEO marketing, for those who are wondering if you want SEO marketing content. Woody, I'm looking at you, brother. Next big thing you are. Steve, what's going on? Long time no see. Ready for the season? Are we ready? It's about that time, isn't it? Kev, what's going on? What have you done? Did you roll the ankle? Is that what you've done? You've gone. You're too nice, mate. Yeah, I know. I'm a giving man. I mean, I could take the grand prize. Nah, that wouldn't make sense now, would it? Just making sure the ads are not too infrequent. Let YouTube insert mid-rolls for you. Recommended. Yasre Mikali, Boss Bass. How have you been? What's going on? Why didn't Pies Footy get the muscle genetics? Don't know, brother. I'm not too sure. What happened to your hair genetics? Why didn't you get the hair genetics, brother? Answer me that. Anyhow, what are we talking about today? I think the first thing we want to touch on is John Noble. I know this thing was a couple of years ago and we should all move past it now, but it's always interesting to hear the player's perspective, right? About how they endured, how they experienced, and what it was like to be an outcast in a premiership year where you played where you play every game besides the final series. So yeah, well, I'm going to open up the article now, and we're actually just going to run through it together. I'm sorry, I read Woody's comment, and I didn't quite understand that. As one lacking in both, can you guys just stop with the strays? The strays. What does that mean, Woody? Help me out, man. Help me out. I'm no good. All right, let me share this screen, and we'll get the John Noble window open. What do you reckon? Where is he? Chrome tab. There we go. Beauty. All right, here we go. What do you reckon? Let me know, by the way, if this is not big enough. So if I go here and I go bang, so I can see it as well. Is this big enough? Okay. All right. So the title was John Noble opens up on grand final axing, trade from Collingwood to Gold Coast. John Noble has broken his silence over his infamous axing from the Pies side on their path to 2023 flag and the moment he would request trade. All right. What does Noble have to say? John Noble walked out of the secret meeting with Gold Coast. Get rid of these ads. Hello. Goodbye. Stop seeing this ad. Galanichta. All right. He walked out of a secret meeting with Damien Hardwick and Wayne Campbell, having made up his mind that it was time to leave Collingwood. The Suns had met Noble roughly 2/3 of the way into 2024 season with manager Winston Rue, home to pitch a deal. He went to his home to pitch a deal. It was a compelling offer. It was a 4-year contract in a key role playing halfback and a move home closer to his wider family. So clearly a move closer to his family. He probably, you know what? It came at the right time for both parties, in my opinion, in the sense that I think Noble had he was coming to the end of his contract this year, so it was a good opportunity to offload John Noble at the end of 2024 because we had as much trade power as we could have possibly had in that negotiation, and Noble was playing well. So you sort of you look at it from Collingwood's perspective, it's a good opportunity to get rid of him in the nicest way possible because his form warrants a decent trade. So, and then Gold Coast, what they give up, they copped pick 26 or something like that in the end for the straight swap effectively. I know it was a 3-team trade, but the Suns had met Noble. Yep, we know that. Okay. And yet, if that meeting was a deal breaker, ask Noble when the seeds were planted, and it is obvious. The events of August 2023 were front of mind. Quite simply, being dropped for a premiership was a traumatic event that Noble was never able to overcome. That is just business. I mean, if you guys have seen, get rid of these fucking ads. Okay. Thank you. You guys see the NBA, right? And unfortunately, that's just the way things are going. I don't think AFL will ever get to that extent where players are traded without knowledge of what's about to happen. I suppose that's something we probably won't reach. However, it's just one of those things where if things aren't working out for someone, or that they've been left with a traumatic event like this, sometimes it's time to move on. Like he's clearly, unfortunately, never going to get over that experience when you miss the opportunity. But playing devil's advocate or playing the other side of the field, it could feel something very special for John Noble at Gold Coast. I'm not saying they're going to go and win the flag. I hope they don't. But for his sake, I think if he does end up winning a flag at Gold Coast, playing a more prominent role, you probably argue that this will be a more special feeling than what he could have had with Collingwood in 2023. That's the reality of it. I'm sorry, I don't know how to stop these ads. I'm a Herald Sun subscriber, and they're doing me dirty with all these ads. So if anybody has any advice, probably not now, but in the future, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Anyways, so John Noble played 83 consecutive games leading into the final series where he would have been just as effective as replacement Oleg Markov. Interesting, especially when he'd played 83 consecutive games leading into a final series where he would have been just as effective as replacement Oleg Markov. That's where I probably disagree with whoever's writing this. Is it John Ralph? I probably disagree with John Ralph because Oleg Markov was in career form. He's fast, he's taller, he's 6'2", so he's more versatile and was able to match up with the mismatches when the defense is always rolling and changing while the game is in free flow, right? If John Noble finds himself on Joe Danaher in that grand final, we're probably going to know what the outcome is. However, if you get Oleg Markov matched with Joe Danaher for a split second, I'm not saying he's going to beat the man, but I'm going to say he's going to put up more of a fight than a John Noble. And that's what I think it came down to with Oleg Markov and his energy. His energy was undeniable. Do you know what I mean? Asked the new Gold Coast defender when he decided to move, and he immediately goes back to the events of that final series. Look, 2023 was pretty hard. That cut me pretty deep, and a few people understood how hard it was, but also a few who didn't understand how deep the cut was. That cut me pretty deep, and a few people understood. I think people who truly be able to understand are the people who have been dropped in a similar situation. Those who don't understand are the ones who haven't been. To call a spade, like how deep the cut was. It's always going to haunt you, but that's just life, isn't it? I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh on the man, but that's just what it is. You always want to be playing an AFL grand final. If it doesn't go your way, you're never going to agree with it. So it's something I'm going to have to live with. That's life. It's tough. Some days you don't think too much about it, and some days it pops into your head. And to be honest, I don't think it will ever go away. Man's still grieving. Hey, I'm a very loyal guy. Even so even making the move here was hard, but I knew it was the right one. To not have success under my name is hard. To not have that success under my name is hard. I'm sure he'll find his own success in his own way at Gold Coast. I think he'll find a great home in Gold Coast, and will feel very significant, probably more significant at Gold Coast than he ever did at Collingwood. And that's just the way it is. Moving into 2024, I was still committed 100%, and some things didn't go my way at selection at the start of the year. I think we all knew in real time when we saw Noble have such a big preseason and still not make the back line. So if we circle back to the start of the year, what was missing from the half back line? We were missing Jack Crisp. He was playing in the midfield. We were missing Nick Dacos. He was playing in the midfield. Josh Dacos wasn't on the half back line yet, nor was still side bottom. So John Noble must have thought, well, if I'm not being played in my primary position while players who previously occupied that spot aren't available, what more can I do? So what did he say at the start of the year? So the Catalyst was speaking to Dimmer in person about my situation and how I could help Gold Coast. That was a real click where I went home and spoke to my partner, Annabelle, in depth and said, I think it's time to pull the trigger. Noble's father, David, told the Herald Sun Sacked podcast last year that his son could barely speak when he called to tell him he had been dropped for the Magpies qualifying final against Melbourne. Speaking publicly for the first time about that day, John admits he didn't have the words to explain the decision to his dad. Fair enough. It's a tough one to talk about. It was interesting. It was sort of out of the blue. He tells the Herald Sun. So Noble trained in the afternoon and got pulled up, and they just said, we are going without you. I didn't really know what to say, to be honest. It was Fly and Brendan Bolton. It was quite emotional, quite raw. I rang my dad and I was just biting my tongue. I was about to cry. I just left the club and I had no idea what to do or say. It's tough. It's tough. My wondering is, did John Noble ever think going into the final series that he could be dropped? I know it was a big surprise, but when we saw who came in and that was Markov, it was like, okay, well, you can make sense of it. I wonder how well Markov was going in the VFL at the time. That's an interesting one. If I zoom this in, so if I zoom this in, the ads go away. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. For the whole walk back to my car, walking along the oval, I was biting my tongue, about to bawl my eyes out, and couldn't put into words what had happened. Yeah. It's emotional. I think my brother actually, for when he was playing under 19s at Noble Park, he had a similar situation where he got dropped for the grand final. Different circumstances, but I can still sort of resonate with the feeling that Noble was probably feeling in this moment. As a kid, you dream of playing AFL football, but to play finals and play in a premiership is the ultimate thing you work your whole life towards, and have that taken away for what you thought was not much of a reason or not something you thought would happen, considering those games in a row or your form, it was really hard to take. So back to this, right? Back to my point earlier, how if he wins a flag, or even if he doesn't, I feel like he's going to get that sense of a better sense of purpose in Gold Coast with his family in a specific role that Dimmer wants him. He's been handpicked by Dimmer. He's a wanted man. He will play a very prominent role for Gold Coast. And like similar with my brother, for example, right? Chris, he's always in the chat, gets dropped for the grand final as a bottom major for Noble, and then misses the grand final. They win the granny. Then Chris comes and plays with me at my local club, and then he was one of our best players that year, won the flag, and yeah, full circle. So I'm not saying Noble's going to win the flag at Gold Coast, but I'm just saying that it's all a part of the story, right? You make of it what it is, or what you can do with it. So I wish him all the best. I wish him all the best. He has no particular beef with the execution from McRae and Bolton. I'd love to talk about this line with John Noble. I wonder what John Noble says to his mates behind closed doors. Like, was he okay with how everything went? I mean, it doesn't matter how he feels, because in the end, it's a business, and Collingwood won the flag. So what ground does he have to stand on when you win the flag? Instead, it is the reality that he was overlooked for McRae favorite Markov, despite little appreciable drop-off in form or warning that his spot was in the gun. The thing for me that scared me about Noble in final series was he was just a little bit sloppy, a little bit of lack of composure at ground level. He was always fumbly in 2022. Was it 2019 as well? Maybe from what I can remember. So I think Fly just went with what he knew. He went with, all right, well, in the final series, it's a completely different game. People judge you on your biggest games. Swanee said before he got drafted that Mick Malthouse said, look, mate, in the Coates Talent League or the TAC Cup, we don't really look at players during the season. We want to see what they do in the biggest moments in the final series. That's what people are judged upon, and that's how people get into the league, and that's how people remain in the league, and that's how people stay at the top of the league. What they do in the big moments. And unfortunately, I don't think John Noble had many great or like consistent games at finals in a final series. And he's only 27. Okay, Noble has enough time at an emerging Gold Coast side to win that elusive premiership at a club that is yet to taste finals, let alone the ultimate glory. So his parents, grandfathers, and siblings, Jess and Mark, are all on the Gold Coast. So there you go. And he will play alongside Rioli, Butterick, Powell, and Brody Ewing. So a great team. What else? Anything here? Anything worse? No. Basically, the whole family's up here. When Dad was coaching North Melbourne, he was coming back, and four mum and sister stayed up here. Being close to family, yada, yada. Dimmer's been great. Cool. And now they're talking about Rowley. Let's catch up on the comments. Like my little effort, my little graphic here, guys. Take note. All right, where are we at? Let's go, buddy. Either more. Chrissy, how are you? I said it last time. He knew all alone. I would have not played him, given games to Dimitir. Drop my check. It needs to stop. The vitriol, the unsolicited vitriol on my check needs to stop, Madison. This guy here, name and shame, Madison Tallarico, he thinks checkers won't get 25 goals in the season. Geordie, we're going to talk about Geordie, don't worry, Dad. Where's Chris and Ranieri? Another sook like Taylor Adams. Looks, pulls. Carnegie, man. Bab. Oh, so Chris is at the pool. All right, anyways. You got to make the tough calls to be successful. Yeah, exactly. You do have to make the tough calls. They made some, yeah. Marshmallow. Minnow reckons is a gun. How you coach? If Noble could stick tackles and not shank it, he would have been a premiership player. Sooking to the media never works. Just ask Tay Adams. Can we all rejoice? Look, at the end of the day, man, he still got us. He got us in 2018. He could do his ACL 5 times, bro, and he's still Still got the flag on us, man. Vampire, take on, brother. Suggesting that Markov's energy was greater than Noble's is drawing a very long bow. Markov, quirky, funny, likable, yes. More energetic than John Noble? No. Not miles apart. So you reckon Noble's more energetic? In what sense? When I say Markov is more energetic, I'm not necessarily saying he's more energetic with his run and carry, because Noble does that pretty well. I'm talking about just his general aura. He's the larrikin. He is likable, like you said, but he also brings people together on the field. It's that chemistry, that's trust. When you got someone who you can lean on, if you make a mistake, you look at Markov and he's giving you the pat on the shoulder. It's a fine balance. We got you, Houston, at least. Then Manny never changed, bro. Markov has the shoes which flies game style bases off. Yeah. After everything this week, I hope he has some luck one day, as long as it isn't against the Saints. Yeah. Could you imagine a Gold Coast versus St Kilda grand final? I think nobody would tune in there, would he? I'm sorry, bro. It's Feb 25 and the media still writing up articles. It's interesting. It seems like John Ralph is definitely batting for John Noble in that case. In the end, the decision was made and the Pies were premierships. John Ralph probably suggested that Markov or Noble would have done just as well as a job as Markov. How can you say that? What's happened has already happened. The final series already happened. What Markov did in that final series was what we needed. To say that Noble would have done the same thing, that's you're selling Markov short there. I know Markov didn't have a great year last year, but he was great last season, 2023 for the Pies. Noble's a good bloke. The whole season he was a passenger. He had little moments, but wasn't consistently good every week. If we lost him and got nothing back, you get upset. But we got Houston. Fair call. John Noble and Adam Treloar look alike. You reckon? Nah. You reckon? Yasures Stefanos. Ask Malthouse his greatest regret. Not too sure, bro. Jesse. Who's Jesse? What else? May as well have had Meatloaf as pre-match entertainment. Interesting. All right, moving on to our next subject. What have we got? Jordan De Goey is up next, actually. Where is he? JDG. And this is hot off the press today. All right. Present. Is that the one? I think that's the one, eh? All right, take the banner off. All right. So, Collingwood Premiership star Jordan De Goey has declared a 10-day training program in Doha as life-changing in the bid to combat persistent soft tissue setbacks. We don't know what he did there. Can you guess? Yeah, did he work on his running mechanics, his jumping mechanics, exercises to strengthen his hips and groins and everything else in between? It'd be nice to be able to know a little bit more about what he actually accomplished there. I within the four walls, within the AFL world, sure, everyone probably knows what they do in Doha with the specialists there, but it'd be nice for them to shed some light so we could know a little bit more. De Goey set to resume running on Friday, which is tomorrow. I'll be there, with a hope to return to full training late next week after a minor bone bruise. He praised the experience at Aspetar, a renowned sports medicine facility in the Qatari capital, Doha. Doha was unbelievable, said De Goey. A life-changing experience, and the practices they do over there are second to none. He's never seen it before. He learned so much and was able to bring it back to the footy club. So a lot of other blokes are benefiting from it now. Watching him outside on the field, there wasn't anything like necessarily left field that was like different from what he was what he was trying to do on the sidelines for rehab. There was there's some drills where he'd use the cones to do some agility and then use that water shaker that will challenge your core in different sort of planes. But outside of that, a lot of it was just running. I mean, what we're probably missing is the finer details, running technique. He probably, brought that to the club and maybe would shed some light on it in the club facilities, and then players were utilizing that and practicing it when they went outside. I don't know. That's my guess. The Goey, who played just 13 games last season, plagued by groin issue, has sights on round 0 against GWS. With any preseason appearances rated, see how we go propositions. Collingwood has a practice game against Gold Coast in 14 days and a community series match against Richmond. Princess Park, is that Icon Park? I will be there. Is anybody going to be at the Richmond versus Collingwood practice match? No rush on the preseason games. I think that's a good question. Would you want the Goey to play in any of these preseason matches, or just get his conditioning up at training and then get him into a game? I'd say maybe try get him right for a half against Richmond and let that be. Let that be enough. Obviously, I've had the groin for a long time now. That's just come good. I don't really want to risk anything at this stage. Let the leg heal and go from there. Let it recover, let it heal. It's just bone bruising at the end of the day. Like any bruise, it will settle at some stage. I should be ready to go from there. So the injury was sustained in last week's training. The body is actually all right. Unfortunately, I got a bit of bone bruising to my leg. We said that 6 times already. We didn't know about it early on, but we do know now. I'll probably be back running, hopefully tomorrow, and back into the full program by the end of next week. So if the 20th is the first practice match hit out in Gold Coast, I reckon, I dare say, we might get an intra-club maybe mid next week, maybe, unless they just want to work it up towards Gold Coast instead. Collingwood is close to full strength on the training track, with the exception of De Goey and Tom Mitchell, who's still progressing and still putting in the work. Nick Dacos and Josh Dacos are back into full training. Nick with the plantar fasciitis issue, and Josh Dacos was managing that calf. I don't want to jinx it or say anything like that, but everyone seems to be going well, which is good. Not too many soft tissue injuries, but as we've seen across the AFL, it can change overnight. It can. Steel Sidebottom says, we're in a great position right now. The list is pretty healthy, and that's the big challenge going into the season, Sidebottom said. Geordie is one we'll obviously look to have up and running for opening round. He's someone who needs to be playing well to complement our team. Side, I couldn't have said it better myself, right? We need to go in the team, don't we? What are our thoughts? What are we saying? J. Tomo is Jesse. My apologies. Malthouse said the greatest regret was dropping Leon Davis for the replay. I don't think you can put Leon Davis and John Noble in the same category of ability, though, right? And Davis had served the club for a very long time. I'm sure, by the way, that I'm very certain that Fly would probably share the same regret. Dropping, not a regret. It's not a regret, I don't think. I don't think it's a regret. Maybe Malthouse says it's a regret because the game wasn't close in the end, that replay. But given you just drawn the week before, he was looking to make improvements in any way possible, right? I think Fly would feel bad. He'll feel bad, always feel bad. I'm sure he would have loved to have given John Noble a medal, but there was that pre-existing relationship with Markov as well, with Fly at Richmond. So you're going to get down, Tomo, to Collingwood versus Richmond. Very good. Yeah, it's going to be a funny one going to Icon Park, Carlton. I love the GOAT, but the constant injuries are becoming concerning. His chances of getting through a season unscathed are against him, as he'd never played a full season since his... Well, I would say, Peter, that 2023 was a pretty good output from De Goey, especially because he spent most of his time, like 75% of his time, in the midfield, and then struggled in 2024, short preseason off the back of a flag. I have faith that we can still get 18 plus games from the Goey this year. I think he needs to play 16 plus. 16 plus will give him the continuity he needs to take us into another final series. I think the only thing stopping us from finishing top 4 is injuries. Yeah, fair call. I'm not opposed to that. I agree. Only person who gets dropped for the granny in 23 was Ginnivan for. Only person who gets dropped for the granny in 23 was Ginnivan for Harrison. Am I missing something? Was Harrison in the prelim? Is that what you're saying? Hopefully I'll see you there. Yeah, I'll see you there, man. I'll be there. Yep. I'll be there. I'll be at the Collingwood vs Richmond preseason game. AJ would have played if not injured instead of Frampton. Fair call. I reckon that's a fair call. Imagine AJ with a premiership medallion hanging around his neck. Do you think the All-Star game is a good opportunity for AJ just to get some sort of form? Playing against Fremantle, playing for a side that lives and breathes his culture, obviously the Indigenous culture. I wonder if that's going to give him some sort of momentum. I know he's a ways away at the moment. Like he's behind Membry, McStay, Myercheck, Coxie. I understand that. But does that help him in any shape or form? Nicholas, what are we thinking about Josh off the half back line this year? I think my prediction is, from what I'm seeing at training, is Perryman will play midfield, predominantly midfield, probably 70%. And then you're probably going to have Dan Houston and Josh Dacos as those running halfback flankers. And then you got like Will Parker, TJ, Demetrius trying to play the wing position. So don't worry too much about him playing halfback at the moment. Will Parker, if I mentioned him. So there you go. Ginnivan did have 2 shots at goal. Had he nailed these shots, people would have been saying completely different things about Ginnivan. All right, moving on to the next segment. Let's go with what's Bobby Hill saying? Oh, mate, Bobby. Missing the finals in 2024 will drive Collingwood to reach the summit again in 2025, says star forward Bobby Hill. Collingwood had an off day today, by the way, and he was at a gym doing some conditioning. So he's putting in the work, which is good. The hurt of last year's failed premiership defence will drive Collingwood to reach the summit again. 2023 Premier entered 2024 with high hopes of back-to-back premierships, never got going amid a string of injuries, finishing 9th. It gets you watching teams in the grand final not in it, said Hill. Obviously, we didn't have a great year last year. To top it off with the 2023 grand final and not backing it up, it hurts. I wonder if we go and do a Geelong of last year where we go like 7 or 8 games unbeaten at the start of the year, because it'd be a similar timeline with Geelong. Geelong won the flag in 22, didn't make the finals in 23. And then they had an incredible first half of their season, dropped off for a little bit, and then came good final series, made the prelim. And if not for was it Brisbane? Was it Brisbane or Sydney? Was it Brisbane or Sydney that Geelong lost to? Someone's heroics. I think it may have been Brisbane. And Sydney beat... Who did Sydney beat? Port Adelaide. That's right. There you go. So, yeah. We've all come back in great nick and we're all hungry, knowing that we can do as teams, knowing what we can do as teams in this competition. We're very excited to do that this year. Hopefully we can go all the way. The silver lining missing finals is a longer preseason and time to build a fitness. That mindset and that bit of sit down time would have helped us a bit with making us a bit hungrier. I can tell you Isaac Quaynor is one of those players at training who looks very hungry because of this time to reflect and a bit of slow down time, really soaking in that pain of not being in the final series last year. I think that helps a lot of players, particularly someone like Isaac Quaynor. Coming into this preseason, everyone's come back in great nick. The Magpies have recruited hard. Dan Houston, Tim Membry, Hill's back to Dacos and Goey to overcome their injuries and be ready for opening round. Obviously, you watched 2023, how fast and free we played. That ball movement was easily the best in the competition. We didn't bring that in 2024. Now, if you're a long-time viewer at Pies Footy, you would know time and time again. I mentioned that in 22 and 23, we were the number one side for ball movement from our back half. In 24, we were a bottom four side along with North Melbourne, West Coast, Richmond. And all premiers in the last 5 or 6 years have been top four sides in defensive half ball movement. So just off that metric alone, it's very hard to isolate metrics and say, oh, well, because of this, we didn't do that. But it's a stark stat to look at, and the fall from grace, and it translated in, just us not being able to get inside 50 as much as we liked as well, right? So Bobby Hill, 24, is contracted until the end of 2026 and has talks of an extension on hold, but insisted it was just to focus on his form. It's just putting it on hold. So my idea behind it was, all right, he played well last year. I think, and Heath definitely knows that he's got an All-Australian year in him. So perhaps he wants to extend this conversation or delay this conversation with Collingwood and try to get a really hefty contract, more than what he could take right now. Or is he trying to get that form to get a good contract at like a Fremantle or a West Coast, where he's from, Western Australia? Obviously, you just want to play footy. I'm loving my time here. Hill and Magpies teammate Ash Johnson are in the Indigenous All-Stars squad to take on Fremantle at Optus Stadium in 7 days. To put an Indigenous jersey on and represent our people back in WA to play in this All-Stars game, it's up there with the likes of playing Indigenous round. To do this, I'm very proud and very pumped to play in it. I feel good. It's a good preseason I've had under my belt. I've had a good off-season. My body feels good, and I can't wait to get out there and showcase some skills and have some fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some footy. It's about time. I wish the preseason wasn't as long. In saying that, it creates this demand, right? NBA, you get this just this oversupply, I think, with NBA on every night. Teams are playing. They're not playing at 100% every game, right? And it's poor quality. It's a bad product. People are getting over it now. Whereas I think if you have those extended pre-seasons, time away from the game you love, when you come back, or when it comes back for the fans and the players in late Feb, early March, I think it's worth the wait. I think we've got it right. As much as I wish footy pre-seasons weren't as long, and I know they're shorter now, I think it's in a good place. It creates that, you miss it. You miss it, you know? All right. What are we saying? I can see us only losing 4 games this year, and still a couple of those are 50-50. Peter, be cool. Do we overrate IQ? Love the guy, but he's in between size, in between skills, just saying. I think we'll know more. We'll know more about that this year. He could be a better winger than what he is as a defender. I don't know if he could be a midfielder. I think he could be a forward, maybe. I think he could be a forward. I think there's many things to try before we count out Isaac Quaynor. His running capacity, his competitiveness. He'll get it right. He'll get it right. Early season prediction: Houston, Nakos, Jacos, Quaynor, and Cameron are all in the AA squad, and 3 of them make the final squad. Okay. I mean, if we have that many players in, then we're doing well this year. So I'll roll with you, Peter, on that one. How are you feeling, brother? Bazza, how you going? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Can't wait for the footy. I'm going to the preseason game for Richmond at Icon Park, enemy territory. So I'll be there. That'll be my first sort of venture out. Try to get to as many games as possible this year. I've already said many times that I'm going to get around the VFL as well. Done some VFL content already if you haven't seen it. Also, if you guys want to join the Pies Footy tipping competition, there it is. Cruz, just right on cue. I just saw your message. So join that. It's a $300 grand prize, no entry fee, and make sure you're in the mailing list as well. If you're not in the mailing list, you're not eligible to win the grand prize. The mailing list link is in the description of all my videos. You reckon Hawks last season was just a flash in the pan? Hard to tell. I'd say probably not. I think they're a great side. They're led by a great coach and they've got a great culture. The only thing is that will be different for them, Rangatank, is pressure. They're going to have more pressure than what they had last year. They played freely last year. Think Collingwood 2022, how freely we played, how we were able to express ourselves without pressure because we were a bang average side in 2020 and 2021. That's basically what Hawthorn got to experience. The hall pass, I call it. They had a hall pass last year. Hearing, Dom, where'd you hear this? Hearing that Matt Rowell trade looking good for the Pies. It would look good. He'd look good in black and white. But he just spoke with Geelong. He spoke with Geelong recently. So that's a fact. I don't know if there's anything coming out about Collingwood, right? We better not be beaten by 70 points again against the Hawks. I hope not. Hawthorn has a harder draw this season too. Yeah, but I mean, so do we. So do Collingwood, right? What else? What else do we have here? What are some career milestones? Let's have a look at this. Share this tab. Let's go share screen again. All right, let's have a look at this one. With the 2025 AFL season fast approaching, this year is shaping up to have a milestone-heavy calendar with up to 13 players looking to reach significant career moments. Kicking off the year are two players that have been inseparable throughout their careers in Pendles and Sidebottom, who have their sights set on breaking the record for most games as teammates. The pair are looking to take the mantle over from Adelaide Crows duo Andrew McLeod and Tyson Edwards, with the two-time premiership teammates due to reach a milestone in round 2 against the Western Bulldogs. Looking later in the season, Sidey will play 350, which will be round 20 against Richmond at the G. That'd be nice. Big game at the G. He's also looking to kick his 200th goal and 200th career victory. Interesting. Jack Crisp looking to play his 250th in opening round against the Giants, having not missed a single game since being traded to the Pies in 2015. The midfielder will also be looking to surpass Jim Stein's record of 244 consecutive games when Collingwood take on Geelong in round 8. Billy Elliott hoping to play his 200th game when they take on Brisbane at the Gabba on the Easter break weekend or Easter weekend, with the small forward also on a hunt for 13 more goals to reach a 300-goal milestone. 200-game milestone will be a key theme in the Pies forward line this year, with Tim Membry and Dan McStay within reach of the double ton later in the season. Round 21 for McStay and round 22 for Membry. What else do we have? So, 150 milestone will be on the card. Some Checkers, Coxie, and Perryman. Anything else? Darcy Cameron finishing up as a runner-up in the Copeland Trophies, expected to play. Now, that's something I'm looking forward to. His 100th game in round 5 against his former side, the Sydney Swans. That'll be great. And then if there's any reason to beat Hawthorn and vindicate ourselves from that horrible game we had against him at the G last time, hopefully it's Bobby Hill's 100th game against Hawthorn at the G in round 12. That'd be nice. It's taken 9 years, 3 clubs and fatherhood for the 100-game milestone to come around for the Belarusian-born Oleg Markov. But the flying halfback will be optimistic that he can find his place during the 2025 season and reach this significant achievement. His milestone will fall in round 15 should he play every game up until that point. I don't know if Markov will play more than 100 games for Collingwood or play 100 games in his career at AFL level. Last but not least, of the potential 100 gamers is the brute force of Beau McCreary. I think I really, really, really am hopeful of another good progressive season for Beau this year. I think he's got potential. I think he just needs to find it within him, and I don't know how else to describe it. I think he'll get there somehow. I really do. So that's all those milestone games. That Darcy Cameron one will be that'll be nice. That'll be a nice one, right? Why did the Hawks' great coach only last one season as captain? Always got to look for the negative in the opposition. Only last one season as captain. I'm not too sure. Should we go for LDU or Rao? I prefer LDU personally. LDU's a little bit more dynamic inside and out and has got really bursting pace out of the contest. Rao is just what you see is what you get. Just the contested beast. Just wins the ball at all costs. I think he has the highest contested possession rate in the league. I think he's sitting at like 66%. That's a ridiculous ratio between contested possessions and uncontested possessions. It's more than someone like Patrick Cripps. So depends how hyper specific you want to get with these two players. What's this in a tipping comp? You can let admin pick for you. Oh, really? I'll be sure to change that. I'll make sure I can't change your tips. Chris, you asked me how I became Collingwood fan. I used to live in Melbourne, now I live in Brisbane. I'm very happy being a Collingwood fan. Good man. Represent. Sorry. Peter G, LDU, in my honest opinion, is a generational gun. Yeah, it just depends what you want. Fuck, sorry. Who will shine the brightest out of youngsters Hayes, West, Jath, Parker, Demetia, Allen Smith, Ryan Steen? Choose one. Who will shine the brightest? If I had to pick one right now, I think maybe the obvious one is Ed Allen. If you want me to go a little bit more left field, I'd probably say I think we're underrating Will Parker. I think a lot of younger players are getting good raps, but I think we're underrating Parker. He did play AFL last year as a Category B rookie. So I'll give you that. If we win every milestone game, we'll play finals for sure. Well, considering we got them against Brisbane, Sydney, GWS, and Hawthorn, it's a good point. It's a good case to be made, Dom. I don't know if we can afford him, even with the new draft rules, to be on, or like the trade rules. Real. Yesterday, Yanni Buise. Beau should be a shutdown specialist. There is still space for the role. Yeah, he does what he does very well. I think he's got more than just being a role player. I think he's still young. He's still under 25, so plenty of wriggle room for someone like Beau. So Kane Corns today, he added Dan Houston to Sam McClure's A-grade list. So he added Dan Houston along with Nick Dacos. Do you think Kane Corns and McClure are missing anyone else from the Collingwood side as an A-grader? Does Darcy Cameron not make that list? Like, if I pull this up, let's share this tab. Let's share this tab and let's have a look at the list. So, all right. So who's on the list? So this is Kane Corns' amended list. Isaac Rankin, Jordan Dawson, Lockie Neal, Charlie Cameron, Patrick Cripps. I agree with Sam Walsh not being an A-grader. I probably put Harris Andrews as an A-grader. I put Dane Zorko as an A-grader. Taylor Walker falls just short. I can agree with that. Kerno Wiedering, agree. Nick Dacos, Dan Houston, agree. Merritt, agree. Sarong, agree. I agree with getting rid of this. I agree with this. Dangerfield was once an A-grader. Jeremy Cameron was also on both lists. Noah Anderson and Tom Green taken out. Toby Green, Taylor, Hogan, Whitfield, Day, Moore. Cool. I'm cool with that. Max Gawn is there. Tristan Sherry's a bit stiff from North Melbourne. Horn Francis added in, agreed. Errol Goulden. Like, there's only one A-grader ruckman in there. So I would have thought Darcy Cameron has to be in this A-grade list. Look, he's not there now. It is what it is, but he'll be there. If they do this stupid list again this time next year, then I'm certain that someone like Darcy Cameron he'll be right here. Who else? Who has the potential? Who else has the potential to become an A-grader at Collingwood in 2025? Who's on the Bobby Hill? Bobby Hill is someone who can be there. What other small forwards were here? Tom Papley was one. Toby Green. I think Bobby Hill can be as good, if not better, than Tom Papley. I think Bobby Hill is a little bit more different to Toby Green. I will say that. Dylan Moore. I think he's playing more midfield as well, so probably don't compare him. Butters, midfielder. Horn Francis, Gordon, midfielders. So not a bunch of small forwards. Like, you got Tom Papley there. I think Josh Dacos as well. Like, any wingers here? Gordon, winger. Lockie Whitfield, winger, halfback flank. I think, yeah, Josh Dacos, Darcy Cameron, Bobby Hill could all be players who could be a part of this list in 2025 at the end of this year. 100%, right? That's what I reckon. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. I think we've covered a bit. Like I said, it's a little bit quiet at the moment as far as YouTube content's concerned, but it's nice to do this, and then things will ramp up very quickly before we know it. But before we go, if you guys have any questions that you want me to answer, put them in the comment section now, and I'll stick around for another 5 minutes or so. And tomorrow, by the way, I'll be at training. So if you want me to keep an eye on anyone in particular, you liking? So last week I did a report. And training highlights and a report separately. So I'm going to do that again. I hope you guys like that. That's what I'm going to do. Also, yeah, we do. That's another great point. Darcy Moore needs to return to being an A-grader this year. I think he's on the right path, though, the way he's training. You should have a Collingwood video soon. Very nice. Yeah, I'm keen for that. If Bobby was greedier, he would rank higher, but I don't want him to change. Yeah, well, one thing he did really improve on this year was I think he went from half a goal assist a game to becoming this goal assist magician. I average more than a goal assist a game. So he was almost too selfish at times. We've spoken about that many times, haven't we? But yeah, good point. Great point. Also, Dane Swan documentary will be out in the next couple of weeks. It'll be another half an hour documentary. If you want early access, become a member. It's $5 a month. And that's it. Become a member. You get the early access to the Dane Swan documentary. Helps the channel. So yeah, if you want to do that, the link is in description. And until next time, guys, if there's no other questions, I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Training report, training highlights, and we'll go from there. Go Pies.